Gurula, shalom, salam alaikum, uktula, peace be upon you. Whatever peace is in your language, may that be with you in 2023. Black people always say compliments. So, KG Kagiso with me here, Kagiso Tembewaya, our season two. He's the one who's running season two, essentially. I'm just here to press buttons. Happy New Year, my brother.
Happy New Year to you too, my brother, and Happy New Year to the viewership, everybody who's lended us their ear in the past year. Let's hope that this year we've all got bigger and better endeavors to go on to.
And that includes Kaizer Chiefs and Pirate supporters.
That's for everyone. No discrimination.
No. But we're going to get to the Professional Soccer League of South Africa, the DStv Premiership. Let's start with, we opened the first episode with the World Cup predictions, what would happen. We were shocked, but we were not surprised.
That's true. We are not surprised, and we were not far off with some of our cases.
So. Yeah. So Argentina won the World Cup. Congratulations to Argentina and everyone who was supporting Argentina. I'm not sure if people support Argentina or Lionel Messi per se, who are not Argentinian. Of course, people who are from Argentina would support their country. But for some of us, of course, if you're a betting man, you would have to support the country. But some people just love the players. And I think the players in this tournament did not disappoint. It was the countries that disappointed. But when it comes to individual effort, I think we saw a lot of players coming through, especially young players.
We definitely did see a lot of young talent coming through from the various nations, and some of these nations are European and they have new talent that was born and raised in Africa. I don't know if you remember, but we touched on those kind of players in our previous recording. So it was good to see up and coming talent from all over the world, and let's hope they can go on to make a success of their careers.
Yeah, so before we get to in fact, let's start there with Argentina. In the final, it was basically Kylian Mbappe versus Lionel Messi, and they both showed up. Final score was 3-3 after 120 minutes of play.
Plus,
yeah, and then it went down to penalties, which is the lotto. So I think we can say France did not lose the final in open play. They lost it in penalties, but big ups to Argentina. They seemed like they believed in this one.
The interesting thing about them winning a World Cup is they pulled a Spain in 2010,
where losing the first
they lost
opening
their
match.
opening game in the tournament, but they went on to be eventual champions. So it was really interesting because a lot of the people who were supporting them when the tournament started were already pressing panic buttons that they lost to the Saudis. But they went all the way and went on to win it, and I feel like deservedly so, considering the performances they've put in at the World Cup.
Yeah, and even before the World Cup, during the World Cup, you saw a lot of Maradona banners in the stadium and people back home in Argentina. It's always been a good comparison, Leo Messi and Maradona, because he's one of the greatest of all time, especially in Argentina. And then look at Messi in this generation, and I feel like the stars aligned. I remember chatting to someone, they were asking me, so who do you think is going to win the World Cup? I'm like, in the stars it's written that Lionel Messi should win it, but I just don't believe in star signs. Maybe now I should start believing, but just the narrative and the belief. We spoke about this last time, that these countries tend to support and believe in their athletes, sometimes more than what we tend to see here in Africa.
They always believe in being winners, serial champions. They always believe that whenever they go and represent the nation at whatever sporting code it is, they always want to be the leaders of that and whatever sporting code they're pushing. So that's what we could also learn a thing or two from them. It's more like, how can I put this? It's how they're so passionate about it and they're so patriotic about their country, basically.
Yeah. And then you look at also France with Kylian Mbappe being, one of the young stars who scored, quite a lot of World Cup goals. He's also made history for himself, for his country, scoring a hat-trick in the final.
Yep, the last person to do that in the World Cup final was Pelé, who unfortunately also passed away. So may his soul also rest in peace. And for a young man like Mbappe to show how even at the biggest stage in world football, he's not fazed by anything or any challenge that is put in front of him. In fact, he's willing to take it upon himself to, one might say, carry the team, but I mean, we all know it's a team effort, but he's involved in all of the decisive moments in that final. So big up to him.
Yeah. And then third and fourth place playoff, it was Croatia versus Africa. Morocco, of course, Croatia, they were the finalists in the previous World Cup. Now, well, second place actually. They played in the final. Then now it's third place. Same like France. They were the winners. Now they're second place. So it means next World Cup, third place. We don't know.
Yeah.
But Croatia always put in a good showing in the World Cup.
Yes, definitely. And remember we spoke about them in terms of how at probably the last three major tournaments they've participated in, they've been in the top four of those tournaments, so they clearly have the right formula of how to perform at big tournaments. And they pulled up one of the biggest upsets at the World Cup by knocking out Brazil, because even a lot of people, even myself included, I thought Brazil would go as far as the final. So that shows you how much Croatia are prepared at, major tournaments, and they actually look like a country that's progressing towards succeeding at one of these tournaments, when we look at them in the future. Do they have a squad young enough to carry this on? I don't know. I guess only time will tell.
Sure. And then Morocco did well. They could have made it to the final. We were believing at some point. But in fact, they made history for Africa by making it to the semifinals.
Definitely. They are history makers by making it to the semifinals, because the last best placed African nations in the World Cup stage was the quarterfinals. So remember, even in 2010, we had Ghana in the quarterfinals, and we are all behind them, supporting them and hoping they would go a level further. So Morocco did well, and they looked very solid throughout the whole tournament. I don't remember a game where they looked like they were under too much pressure. Yes, you could tell that there might be a difference in golf in terms of how the Europeans are playing and how the Moroccans play. But if you think about it, most of the Moroccan squad is based in Europe. So I feel like that's why it helped them to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Spain, the likes of Portugal, so they knocked out those nations of this tournament, and deservedly so. They've now pushed up the bar for African nations at the next World Cup. Now we'd like to go a step further, even if we get to the next final, we would like to win it, because obviously when you play a final, you play to win it, but they've just raised the bar, and let's hope all African nations will try and follow suit.
Yeah. So I've been hearing that because of Morocco's exploits at the World Cup, there'll be more numbers possibly at the upcoming World Cup, which will be in 2026.
Okay, so initially, right, there's already going to be more numbers at the next World Cup. That was the original plan, because there are more teams participating in the next World Cup. I think it's about 48 nations.
Okay.
And now Africa was moved up from having 5 to 9 spots, right? And now rumor has it, because I've been reading about this thing, so it sounds like it's not something FIFA has actually confirmed, but rumor has it that with Morocco doing well in this edition of the tournament, there will be a 10th place actually available as a playoff place, right? So, and that might become then 11 places. Okay. So I think the 10th place is also guaranteed, because you have to play a playoff against other nations from maybe Oceania or South America. So the 10th place is not a guarantee, because you have to win those games, but it's up for grabs. The 11th spot is what people are saying Morocco might have influenced for the African continent to have an advantage in the next edition.
Okay. Let's go to Ghana. Bagana. They outmuscled us as Bafana Bafana to go to the World Cup, and there was no surprises. You actually said, what did you say?
I did say, and I quote, the Ghanaian national team should not switch off the engines of that jet, because they won't stay in Qatar as long as they think they would.
Yeah. Well, look, they made it. It's okay. We're fine with that. But what I'm happy about, and I'm just trying to keep this Africa theme, Qatar, the country Qatar, they also made history.
They made history.
We were actually hoping
yeah,
for this one to
we
happen.
really also did mention this because remember, before this edition of the World Cup, South Africa was the worst hosting nation in terms of not qualifying out of the group they were in. But Qatar just took it a notch further than that because Qatar also are in the same space. They didn't qualify out of their group and they didn't win any games or get any points for that matter.
At least, we beat France. Eh?
We beat France and drew with Mexico, so we got 4 points. So as far as the worst hosting nation goes, we are off the number one spot.
Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he put a lot of pressure on himself by announcing his resignation from Manchester United just weeks before the 2022 Qatar FIFA World Cup. He didn't have the best of performances, or he did have some it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Is one of the greatest athletes of our generation. But of course, you saw how he walked off that stadium with tears, rightfully so, because he is a perfectionist and he would have wanted for his country to get there. It didn't happen though, did it?
It didn't happen, and I remember I heard someone somewhere say the reason why he tried to force this move from Man United was because he thought the World Cup would be where he puts himself on the window shop, where he's gonna perform at his best and everybody's gonna want him after that. But instead, what happened at this World Cup was his exploits and how it ended at United was following him so much so that the press felt like at certain times he was affecting the national team, or his energy was not in the right place and he was not the influential figure that we're hoping to have in this World Cup. So that then might have trickled down to his performances and him not performing as well as we might expect of him, especially knowing that it could possibly be his last World Cup.
Yeah. And flying, I just Googled this. The distance between Qatar and Saudi Arabia is 400 miles, which is about 1.5 hours, or an hour and a half, flying there. So I think that was the shortest trip he had to take, right, to go play. Because now he's in Saudi Arabia. He actually said South Africa by mistake, because I guess Mandela is in his heart. It's fine. There was this athlete, one Lewis Hamilton, says
I wanted to say he pulled the Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton said he thinks about Mandela every day.
Every day.
It's okay. So today, I guess, Lewis, another one.
Another day.
Another day. So he's playing in Saudi Arabia, and he's obviously the marquee player now in that entire league. And Saudi Arabia, by the way, did beat Argentina in the opening match. So they are also coached by
Hervé
Renard, who is known for turning countries
and
around.
we know him a lot on the African continent because he's done a lot for a lot of African nations. So he's someone with a good pedigree, and he's someone who's proven from time to time that he's a very good coach.
Yeah. So let's make another prediction now with Cristiano playing in Saudi Arabia. We are going to be watching Saudi now on TV.
It's definitely going to come up on TV as long as Ronaldo is playing in that league.
It happened with Serie A as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. We wrap it up there with the World Cup. Anything you want to add? Okay, I want to speak about Gonzalo Ramos, who scored a hat-trick. He's Portuguese. Ronaldo was benched. Is Ronaldo a team player? Because I think the media is trying to make him out to be someone who's not a team player. Because when I looked at him, his body language, and we're not body language experts, by the way, he seems to be someone who wants the team to win at all costs. So if it means benching Ronaldo, bench him if the team wins.
Yes, I think he's definitely a team player because when the team wins, he shines.
Yeah.
So obviously he wouldn't want to be, he doesn't like being on the losing end, right?
Yeah.
And just to add on his move to Saudi Arabia, I read a conspiracy theory where it's predicted that the only reason why the Saudis went out for him and pushed him for him to get so much money is because they want to bid for the 2030 World Cup. So when having someone like that in Saudi sports as an ambassador of the sports, then gives them a good opportunity of hosting the 2030 edition. So that was an interesting read.
Yeah.
But let's see how that goes, right?
Look, already he might have let it slip by mentioning South Africa.
He might have.
Yeah,
might have let it slip.
So, all right. Then let's bring it home, South Africa. Sure, yeah. It's the league is gone. I mean, today is what, the 19th of Jan 2023. The league ends in when, July. They
May.
still May,
Mm.
right? May. But even Gavin Hunt said it. The league is gone. There's 14 points between Mamelodi Sundowns and Richards Bay, who was second placed. It's as good as gone.
It's gone. It's
Yeah.
definitely gone, and that's not even based off of the result. It's based off of the quality of the performance of the team in number one and the team in number 16. So if you look at the difference in quality and the difference in consistency, that's what makes the league gone. Because even if Mamelodi Sundowns doesn't win the next 10 games, but are we guaranteed that the team in second place is going to win at least 7 games? You know?
Yeah.
So that's what should make you believe that the league is gone. It's pretty much wrapped up. Everybody's fighting for number 2 and beyond.
Yeah. This coming Saturday, 8 p.m., we will be at the stadium
Yes.
watching Kaizer Chiefs host Mamelodi Sundowns.
That's going to be a very, very interesting game because you have a team that's consistent. They've won the last 11 games in a row, which it's a record they previously set. And I believe it was Coach Gordon Ingerson, but that's the Mamelodi Sundowns record, and they play against Chiefs. So one, on their side, they would like to stretch that record and set a new record for themselves. Coming up against the team, two, who've just lost heavily in the last week, which is Amazulu. They lost 4-0 to Amazulu, and this is the second time this season they lost 4-0. The first time they lost 4-0 to was against Mamelodi Sundowns. So that might be a traumatic experience for them. So it's interesting to see how they would want to redeem themselves from a Kaizer Chiefs perspective, and how would Mamelodi Sundowns try and remain as consistent as they've been. So that's going to be an interesting watch, and yeah, that's going to be nice.
Yeah, and then I was in Cape Town for holiday. Managed to go to the stadium, watch Cape Town City versus Orlando Pirates. There is a young player. I don't know how old he is. I'll just check it out right now. Saleng. He's one player that really impressed me. Seeing him on the field. Orlando Pirates have got a good thing going on there. I don't know what it is. That there's just the spark that seems to be missing.
Yeah, I think with Saleng, he's, someone might say he's burst onto the scene, but that's not the case, because I believe he's been a Pirates player for almost 2 years now, but he just couldn't crack it into the first team for the past few seasons. And I commend him that at this point he's one player who's taking his opportunity. He's being played, and he's showing and proving why the coach is putting faith in him to say, go in that field, express yourself the best way you know how to, and try and help us to get results. And I feel like in the Paris team right now, he's their star man at this point in time.
Sure. And then, of course, Orlando Pirates will be playing against Stellenbosch. How do you see that one playing out?
Tricky game. But because Stellenbosch have proven to be a very strong team, especially in the midfield. And most of Orlando Pirates' problems have been in midfield, in terms of, it's not that they don't have the right players or the players to play there, but they just don't have a consistent midfield 2 or midfield 3, if you like, depending on how the coach wants to play. So they're always chopping and changing, and that then makes it tricky when you come up against a team like Stellenbosch, who's coached by Steve Barker, who will always prepare well when he plays against a big team. So tricky one. If it's not a draw, I'm not sure who's going to win.
Because, they played against Cape Town City, a Cape Town side.
Cape Town side.
And they lost 2-1.
They found it tough.
Yeah, it was tough for them.
They always find it tough against the Cape Town teams, honestly. Because I remember that season when Lodge was flying and they were tipped to win the league. One of the games they lost was Cape Town City, and that just messed up their whole chance.
Yeah. Look, we'll see how that one goes. Supersport United will be playing against Richards Bay also on Sunday, same as the Pirates match.
It's an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
Because they are at the top 3 and 2, I think.
Yeah, Richards Bay is number 2,
Yeah.
SuperSport number 3.
Yeah, so it's a top of the table clash. Who would have
Yeah,
thought
Who would have thought?
that you would call Richard? You would count Richards Bay in the top of the table clash.
Yeah, they just separated by 2 points. Richards Bay have got 29 and SuperSport have got 27. But I think Gavin should take this one.
Tricky one because Richards Bay have also been a tough customer this
Yeah,
season. You know,
true.
their goalkeeper has 11 clean sheets this
Mm.
season. So
Mm.
if they're not letting goals in, then it
Mm.
gives them a chance to win games. So
Mm.
it might look like Gavin can take it, but Richards Bay is a very tricky customer.
What's the difference between playing defensively, playing from the back, and parking the bus? I always hear coaches say these things.
Parking the pass is just like 11 men behind the ball, basically.
With no purpose.
no
to-
purpose of, right?
Yeah.
And playing defensively, I'd say if you watched the game between Sundowns and SuperSport that recently played, right?
Mm.
So SuperSport had a lot of good chances because playing defensively means you structure yourself well enough to try and block out. You know your position is stronger than you. So in order for you to be defensive, you have to be well structured. But that structure shouldn't let you sit back. It should also allow you to capitalize on the mistakes of the opponent.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's some coaching tips there from Kagiso. So just give you the log. Marumo Gallants at 16, they've only got 14 points, followed by Maritzburg United with 17 points. Swallows, 17 points. Swallows Football Club don't seem to have a plan because, I mean, last season, things were similar. I don't know if last season or that other season as well, but it seems like, they always find it hard and they're struggling. They're no longer that Swallows that was always in the top 4, top 5.
A big team. Swallows used to be considered as a big team actually in this
Yeah.
country.
Sure.
The plan right now seems like they just want to survive,
Yeah.
stay in the top flight.
And with back to school, banyaza ubhizi nabantwana bethu angiboni ukuthi Swallows zizondiza lezi inyoni lezi inyoni zethuba lezi inyoni zezulu. But anyway, let's leave it there for today. Kagiso, unless you want to add anything, anything you're seeing through your eyeball, fortune tellers, any movements, is there anything that would possibly happen? I don't know about the transfer window.
Yeah, well, there's a few
the UK.
interesting scenarios as well.
Yeah.
Andile Giles' contract is ending in June, July at Sundowns.
Mm.
So he's free to sign a pre-contract with a team of his choice. But I heard an interview of his agent, I think it was a day or two ago, where he was suggesting that now the ball is in Mamelodi Sundowns' court. They have to decide if they still want him to stay with the team or they feel like they're willing to let him go. Because at this point, he's even if he decides he gets a good offer, he's allowed to sign a pre-contract because it's the last 6 months of his contract. So it's interesting to see how that's going to go out. And Kaizer Chiefs signed a striker from, I think it's Pirates. They signed a striker from Cameroon. I just don't remember the guy's name, but he's playing for a team that will be in the same group with Sundowns in the CAF Champions League. It's Cotton Sport from Ivory Coast, yes. So I wonder, maybe the quality of football that side is a bit different to this, but I was just curious why a player would leave Champions League football and go to a team that's not participating, at least this year, in continental football. But I guess the journalist will have to ask the man that question once he's doing interviews.
Yeah, I see his name is Sowabiao Marau. Sorry for mispronouncing.
Yeah.
His name is a bit hard to pronounce, but
It's a difficult name to pronounce.
yeah. Marau, though that is his surname. So not Marawa, but Marau. We'll get anyway. Wait, we can't not speak about Arsenal also. Eh?
Yeah, when
Crazy things are happening.
Yeah.
There. What's happening there? I've never seen anything like this. Because
Yeah.
now also Manchester United just beat Man City, and Manchester United seems to be coming alive since Cristiano Ronaldo left.
Yeah.
And not to blame Ronaldo for this.
No, it's definitely not to blame, but they are definitely looking like they have the right formula. The players look hungry to get things changed. They're playing Europa League football right now and they don't like that. So they definitely want to see themselves back in the Champions League. That's the same goes for Arsenal, and I feel like that might be one point that motivates this team to do so well right now. Because if you look at teams like Chelsea and Liverpool, they're going through the most right now. They sit in 9th and 10th respectively.
Sure.
So we, as football fans, and based off of what we saw last season, you wouldn't have expected that. But I still think City, yes, they will lose a couple of games here and there, but I still think they're strong. But now Arsenal is proving its worth by winning the important games.
Yeah.
Because in the past, they used to be consistent, and when it comes to winning the important games against teams that are generally in the top 6, they would then not do so well in those fixtures. And this season, they look like they are consistent in getting results against the top teams. And should they continue this way, it will be hard for Man City to catch up with them, because I think that's their biggest rival in terms of catching up, because we know when the season goes towards the end, Man City picks up some kind of form. We don't know where it comes from, right? So there's that. And another thing for Man City is because they've missed out on the Champions League a few times now, and they've gotten so close. They also want that. So I would say, I predict that if they progress in the Champions League, they will let the league slide.
Then there's the FA Cup as well. Yeah. Okay, we'll see how that one plays out. But yeah, I'd love for the Arsenal faithful to win, because there are kids who support Arsenal who've never seen Arsenal.
They've never seen Arsenal lift the league trophy.
Yeah,
they've probably seen them win the FA Cup.
Yeah.
But as far as league trophies go,
sure. I see. So make sure you choose clubs wisely for your kids. Where do we find you, my brother, on social media, social networks?
You find me at forever_KG22 on Twitter. The same handle on Instagram. And I've put a few things up on my TikTok. So
I saw you.
Yeah, so you can also search my TikTok, which is Kahi_so_deep.
All right.
And then, basically, that's where I feel like I'm active. So those platforms, that's where you'd find me.
Kagiso Tembewaya, that's where you can find him on social media. You can also find him here on Let My People Go. Follow and subscribe on YouTube for now. 2023 is going to be a great year. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, investing your time, energy, and resources. We're only going to get bigger and better. From me, Mvangeli Nzuza, Ukthula.